This video is about two great resources. The first one is FOIA, meaning the Freedom of Information Act request. The second one is an online resource called a Guidestar, and we're going to dive deep into both of them. Let's start with FOIA. It's a great way to enterprise stories, and of course is your right as a taxpayer to use a Freedom of Information Act request to get information from government agencies, and that of course includes governments. Sometimes you'll FOIA specific documents knowing what you're looking for, knowing the problem or abuse that this document might prove. Other times, you're going to FOIA specific documents not necessarily knowing what you're looking for, trying to be enterprising as a journalist. So you may FOIA budgets from organizations and government entities or other kinds of documents just looking to see what they send you, and then you on your own time mining through all of this, seeing if you can find anything suspect. Because if you find something, it could be a story. It's great to search through state budgets and see what crazy name things it's allocated money to. A lot of the line items are going to make sense. Per state agency, here's what personnel is, here's what administrative is, but then you start going deeper into some of the programs that these agencies are giving money to, and that's where you find the pork barrel projects. And that's where you can find things that are truly interesting and give you something to ask their public information officer about. One that I found years ago in the state of Illinois was that it had a particular line item for a program called the Red Tape Cutter Program, meaning there was a program that helped people cut through the red tape or cut down on some of the paperwork and process that somebody would have to go through to get something that they wanted from government. So we investigated into what that really was, and we put that story on the air. A good annual FOIA-based story to do is to FOIA your city or state for all of the FOIA requests that they've denied in the past year. And also the documents too, explaining the reasons why. From there, you can sort through all of the denials yourself, which is going to take a while, and from the ones that you think are unfair, take those to a local First Amendment attorney and ask them about them. If they feel that a FOIA should have been fulfilled, now you know you have a story. Now keep in mind, a report like this is going to take months. First, you have to FOIA everything. Second, the government has to actually fulfill the FOIA, and before they do, they've probably delayed it, and that's if they have decided that they're not going to deny it. So let's say you actually get the documents eventually. Then you gotta take it to the First Amendment attorney, where they have to look at everything and say, all right, I can kind of understand why they didn't actually fulfill those, but these over here, yeah, they should have done that. This might be a little bit of a government abuse, which then you go to the state agency and you ask them why and ask them to defend it. And who knows what their answer is going to be, but by the time you get to that part of the story, to where you're calling the agency back, holding them accountable for this section of denials, you've got a story. Then there'll be times where you're randomly tipped off to a story by a viewer randomly calling the station or emailing you, or a source. That's always the best thing, when a source that you fostered, built a relationship, calls you directly with a news tip first. And that's because the more stories you put on the air, the more people trust you. And by way of that, because of that, the more willing they are to be your sources. So to bring this all full circle, FOIAing budgets and reports can yield stories, and is something that you should be doing as a general part of your job. Good reporters send out at least one FOIA a week. Those who really get into the habit of doing it, those who truly budget time for it, send out 2 or 3 a week. And this is a lot easier nowadays than it used to be, because a lot of government entities have you go online and fill out a form. And this is a lot easier than it used to be, because now a lot of government entities let you go online and fill out a form. That can obviously be done at any time of the day. Also too, if what's required is that you send an email to a particular person, sometimes their direct FOIA person in government or the public information officer, well, a lot of email programs allow you to schedule when the email actually sends. So I could write something at 11:30 at night or at midnight and have it scheduled to send to somebody's inbox at 8 in the morning or 9:15, whatever time I want. And that's helpful because if I schedule the time somewhere where I think somebody's getting to work, I can be higher in their inbox and not have been buried by all of the other emails that came into them overnight. Now let's talk about nonprofits. There's a way to check up on them as well. If a nonprofit is a legitimate 501c3, meaning it is legally tax exempt by the federal government, it has to fill out what's called a 990 form for the IRS, and they have to do this annually. The easiest way to find those forms is through a website called Guidestar.com. This is an organization that stockpiles the 990s from nonprofits. All you have to do is sign up for a free account. Here's why the 990 is so important. It's going to show you all of the money the nonprofit brought in that year, as well as what the people who are involved in the nonprofit are paid. This is important because a lot of charities don't actually do charity work. They just take in donations and pay people on their board really high salaries and end up giving very little money, if any money, to the cause that it claims to. If this sounds shady and unethical and immoral, yeah, it is. This is the stuff that you're looking for in those 990s. It's going to be you holding these organizations accountable, saying, you promise to do this. You take in donations from people telling them you're doing this. But when we look at your 990, most of your money is going towards these people and not towards the actual cause that you're claiming to help. One example of this, and this will break your heart, is that there are many nonprofits that promise to help veterans, when in reality, they don't. Instead, what they do is they use the donation money to, again, pay the people on their board large salaries. So to round this all out, FOIA and looking at 990s from Guidestar are great tools to have in your enterprise toolkit. So if you have any questions as you go to dig deep on both of these, and I expect that you will, this would be a very natural place to have questions because I certainly did as I was getting my start with both of these, please feel free to reach out. And I'll see you in the next video.